I've spent years tracking down the most unbelievably strange six strings on the planet. And today, together, for the first time, these are the world's weirdest guitars. First, we've got the Casio DG-20, a digital freak show of an instrument. If you've ever wondered what it would sound like if a guitar had a baby with an 80s computer, well, this is your answer to that age-old question. Now, the strings are actually just floppy plastic. They don't produce any noise. Instead, your left fretting hand tells the built-in computer which notes you're selecting, and then by plucking the string, it triggers those notes. Of course, there are a number of instrument options and effects to choose from, as well as a built-in drum machine and speaker. And it's cool because it's fun, it's easy, it's intuitive for guitar players, and we gain access to all these sounds that we don't normally get. However, even though it's laid out like a normal guitar, it doesn't react like a normal guitar, and you often end up triggering all these unwanted sounds and it kind of ends up sounding like a mess. It's a fun novelty item, but you'd have a hard time using it in any serious setting. Now, if you feel like you might have hit a standstill with your guitar playing and you can't quite figure out how to get to that next level, there's never been a better time to join the Samurai Guitar Dojo than now, and let me tell you why. First of all, we've got a limited 2-week free trial going on. You can come check out what we're up to and see if it's right for you. See, over there, we do manageable weekly lessons. I show you one thing that you should be able to get into your fingers, and then the next week we build on that. There's a huge back catalog of lessons. You can start at block 1 where we look at soloing with bluesy double stops. You can jump around or come join us at current time where we're about to do a deep dive into string bending. My goal with this is to give guitarists who are stuck at that intermediate rut a clear path to improvement. And to help with this, we also do monthly live Zoom hangouts where we can talk directly and I can help you with your specific issues. And so on top of that free trial, if you sign up today, you're also going to gain access to all my 9 other courses. As well, you're going to get in half off, only $7.50 a month. I'd love to see you over there. Anyways, let's get back to those weird guitars. Moving on, we've got the beautiful Stradi fretless baritone. The design alone makes this one of the most beautiful guitars I've ever seen. It's an art piece and the craftsmanship is as good as it gets. But the two big unique features are A, it's tuned B, E, A, D, F sharp B, everything being a perfect fourth lower than a normal guitar. And then B, it is lacking in the fret department completely. With a normal guitar, our frets give us distinct pitches in steps, whereas with this, everything's in play. And this gives us a unique, lush, fluid sound, kind of in the same vein as slide guitar, but really its own thing. Between the finger patterns I can use, the chord shapes, this unique instrument opens up a whole new world. The Danelectro, Coral Sitar, or as my kids say, the weird plastic guitar that looks like a pig. And Danelectro was just absolutely on one back in the 60s. On top of making affordable guitars, they were also doing weird stuff like a guitar designed to sound like an Indian sitar. A sitar-itar, if you will. See, all the strings gently vibrate against this unique bridge, which is designed to give it that buzzy sound. And then we have these additional harp strings. On a sitar, they would start ringing out alongside your main strings, but they don't really work like that. You can kind of just more use them as a harp kind of thing. You'd be surprised at how often these guitars are used in recordings, and it's because they're so much fun to play and have such a cool sound to them. The next instrument on our list is the Kuzma self-playing guitar, and I actually flew out to Peoria, Illinois to check out this guitar and meet the creator. So Mike Kuzma set out on a mission to make a guitar that plays itself as an engineering challenge, and it quickly became his life's passion. Now, it has its limitations. It can only play MIDI files that you send into it, but it can also do things that no human can do. And I was a bit skeptical of this at first, but when I realized the purpose of it has never been to replace a human musician, but rather just take this technology and do as much weird and unique stuff with it, yeah, I'm about it. The Relish Mary One might be the most versatile guitar ever made, and man, this is a strange one. When you look at it from the front, what's the big deal, right? But when you flip it over, the back pops off, and then you can pull out the pickups just like that, and put in different pickups. And so in just a couple seconds there, I went from having P90 pickups to humbuckers. Beyond that, it's got a piezo pickup system built in to capture some of that acoustic sound. And the normal pickup selector, man, this thing's something. This touchpad allows you to select 90% of one pickup, 10% of another, 80-20, 70-30, and so on. As well, you can tap it and it splits the humbuckers into single coil pickups. I've never found another guitar that had so many tonal options to it. However, they didn't sell great. The company doesn't sell them anymore because, while it's cool, it's versatile, guitar players like simple, and this is not simple. So I have not one, but two reverse body guitars, the Gibson Reverse Flying V and the Dewey Decibel Flip Out Reverse Strat. Let me tell you about these. The Reverse Flying V was part of the Guitar of the Week promo that Gibson ran back in 2007-2008. Every week, Gibson released a limited run of 400 guitars unlike anything else they'd ever put out. And these guitars ranged from something kind of strange to what some consider an abomination, the Reverse Flying V. 95% of people hate these, 5% of people love them. I happen to be part of the 5%, but you can let me know what you are. I bought this back when I was working in a music store, and when I saw that we were getting one of these in, I knew that I had to have it. I basically had to fight off 2 other employees, but ultimately I came out on top. And then with the Dewey Decibel Flip Out, basically the same concept, but with a Strat body. Definitely more of a unique visual than something you're going to be using regularly. The next guitar comes from the mind of someone who is quite clearly disturbed, the Disastercaster. So I came up with the idea that I would buy a cheap acoustic guitar off of Temu, as well as a bunch of guitar parts that had no business being on an acoustic guitar, and then enlisted the help of the most talented luthier I know to install those parts on an acoustic guitar. It's a bad guitar to begin with, and there's a reason why you don't put electric guitar parts on an acoustic guitar, but we did. Cut holes, we chopped, we glued, we made it happen. We even put a little sound hole in here. And I gotta say, this whole thing turned out way better than it has any business being. It's ridiculous. It's a terrible idea. I wouldn't recommend ever doing it, but I kinda love it. Alright, now this is the stuff of legends here, the one-of-a-kind hockey stick guitar. So if you watch my channel, you know that my dad is a high-level tinkerer and builder of things. In fact, he's the one who has built all the amps that I ever use, and they're the best amps that I've ever used. One day, I asked him if we could make a hockey stick guitar, and after a trip to Canadian Tire, some sawing, some gluing, some crafting, she was born. And since there's no frets and the action's like a meter high, you gotta play it with the slide, and it actually sounds surprisingly good. Next, we got the Eastwood High Flyer Phase 4 Microtonal guitar. And this is among the weirdest musical devices I have ever dealt with. See, the vast majority of music that we listen to draws from only 12 different notes, but this guitar gives us access to the notes in between the notes, what are called the quarter tones. So in a normal guitar, I can go from this fret to this fret. The musical distance is called a half step. But in this guitar, there's an additional fret allowing me to play the additional note between those two notes. And there's a whole community dedicated to music made with these microtones. At first, it just kind of ends up sounding out of tune, but as the ear adjusts, it actually really starts sounding pretty interesting. And hey, check this out. We got some brand new Sammy G merch. This one's done by one of my favorite tattoo artists, Alberto Lelli. You can find a t-shirt like this one in a variety of sizes, styles, and colors over at shopsamuraiguitarist.com. Link in the description. Anyways, back to those weird guitars. right, you gotta see this one. This is the Yamaha G10 synth guitar from the 80s. This one is so strange. It looks like a Harry Potter broomstick. It's strung with 6 unwound G strings, and it sends out a digital file which is then converted to MIDI in this box here, which can then be used to control any MIDI software. And for something that came out over 40 years ago, in many ways it's ahead of its time. It's a professional instrument. The amount of control that you have over your signal is really quite impressive. There's a whammy bar for the pitch. There's modulation wheels here. Check this out. There's actually a headset that comes with it, and when you blow into it, that can be part of the whole ordeal as well. If this isn't one of the weirdest guitars ever made, I don't know what is. Now the Hondo Longhorn here has more frets than any other guitar. While most guitars have 21 or 22 frets, this one has 31, going up to a high B that's gonna make your dog freak out. And this is actually derived from another one of those weird Danelectro experiments from back in the 60s when they put out the guitar limb. Fast forward a couple decades and Hondo put out their version, and there's actually a surprising amount of things you can do with all this extra real estate. One of my favorites being using these crazy high frets to do artificial harp harmonics. Oh, the Agile 10 string. I don't think I've ever had a worse time playing a guitar than when I found myself playing this one. It's too many guitar strings. 6 is a great number. You don't need any more than 6. 7 if you really want to push it. 8 and above, no, unnecessary. I've tuned this so you basically have a bass on the low 4 strings and then a normal guitar on the higher 6 strings. 2 instruments in one. Sounds great, right? Well, it's not, because the neck is like a surfboard, so it's impossible to play anything, and you don't realize that by adding all these extra notes, it just completely throws off your muscle memory. There's just no fun for me to be had here. I don't enjoy playing it, and I hope this is the last time I ever hold this guitar again in my life. Bass guitars, baritone guitars, normal guitars, and then you have this, the gold tone F6 soprano guitar. Everything on this little squeaker is tuned up a whole octave from where a normal guitar sits, which unlocks a whole new palette of sounds. It's made to fulfill a similar role in a musical ensemble as a mandolin, but it's tuned in a way that just makes sense for us guitar players. And just by being in that different higher register, you start thinking and coming up with things that you never normally would have. Plus, the smaller neck with the frets so close to each other allows for new fingerings and chords that you could never normally play. So the Misa Kitara was said to be the guitar of the future back when it came out in 2010. Some 15 years later, we can safely say that that did not end up being the case. It's got a touchscreen controller, and along with the buttons on the fretboard, these control the built-in synthesizer. And I'll tell you, I don't think any guitar has broken my heart as much as this one here. And I'll tell you why. So back when I started this weird guitar series, this is the guitar that I so badly wanted to feature. And so I bought one, but the touchscreen was malfunctioning because the glue was losing its stick. Sent it back, bought another one, same problem, and then went through this process like 6 times. There's not a lot of them out there. I talked to the guy who made them. You can't replace the touchscreen, and I ultimately came to the conclusion that the glue just degrades over 15 years and none of them work. However, another company called Mosi released a similar product that won't have that problem since the touchscreen doesn't have a display. This one works great, and I've just come to accept that the Misa Kitara is the weird guitar that got away. Moving on, the Casio EG-5 cassette deck guitar has got to be the ultimate lo-fi instrument. You don't need an amp with it. It's got a built-in speaker and a distortion effect. But the thing that really takes it to the next level is that it's got a cassette deck right here in the body. And with this, you can play along to your favorite cassettes, because you know everybody as a favorite cassette in 2025. But maybe the cooler thing is you can record your guitar part directly to a cassette. And with that, you get a legitimate analog version of that lo-fi sound that's all the rage these days. And it just has such a unique vibe to it. It's not the highest end instrument, it's made of plastic, but it functions perfectly fine and is a ton of fun to mess around with. Last for today, what might just be the weirdest guitar, the MCI Guitorgan. Back in the 70s, this company MCI would buy cheap hollow bodies, cut a big hole in the back, and install a supercomputer into it that turned this into an organ guitar. And this mod is invasive. It's like an alien invasion level of invasive. The frets have all been replaced and each one has 6 parts corresponding with each individual guitar string. When you press a string to the fret, it completes a circuit which sends a signal into the computer thing. And within this tone generator, you have a number of different options. We can use these drawbars as an equalizer, different tone settings and effects that we can add to them. And then the signal goes out to this big old box, which is a power supply, volume pedal, and something that converts it to a signal that you can send into a guitar amp. Or of course, you can just use it as a normal guitar too. And for something made in the 70s, I gotta say, it's pretty ingenious stuff. It's completely crazy, but you can actually get some really interesting sounds with it. Ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. That is a compilation of the world's weirdest guitars. And I don't believe that this is the end of this series, but there's only so far you can go down this rabbit hole before you run out of guitars that have an interesting story to tell. And there are a couple white whale wishlist guitars that I would love to feature here, but they're all either too rare or just unbelievably expensive. And I gotta start thinking about decluttering and selling off some of this stuff. So we're gonna put a bow on this series for now, but one of the things I've learned with this series is you can never underestimate the weird stuff that a guitar manufacturer might come up with. And if the right guitar comes up, you know I'm gonna be back here doing this. And don't forget, we got that special promo going on for the Samurai Guitar Dojo. When you use the link in the description, you not only get in for $7.50, half off, you gain access to all of my other courses, and as well, you get a 2-week free trial to see if it makes sense for you. There's a huge library of lessons over there. We do a monthly live guitar therapy session, and my goal with this is to get people like you breaking through the rut that you're in and start seeing real progression on your instrument. And until next time, thank you all for watching. Look after yourselves, look after each other, look after the planet. Keep it weird. I'm Samurai Guitarist, and I'll see you again soon.